Recording in progress.
A very good afternoon to all, and welcome to the day 2 and lecture, actually day 3 of our course on entrepreneurial skills for young biotechnologists. Today we have a esteemed speaker, Dr. Ganesh Kumraj. He did his bachelor's and master's in Pune University on microbiology and industrial microbiology respectively. And then he got his PhD from University of Rajasthan. So if we check the profile of Dr. Kumraj, he has a vast experience in one of the important things what we need today, vaccines. So he have a long experience with Bharat Serum Vaccine Limited and Panacea Biotech. And he represents our country in many national and international organizations, including WHO, on various health-related products, particularly vaccines, bacterial vaccines, and then cell cultures, and a wide range of portfolio with respect to R&D of vaccine production and then supply chain up to the end users. So these vaccines range from snake, rabies, recombinant vaccines, and various sets of products. And he is also the managing director of BioBridge Healthcare Solutions Private Limited, which is based in Pune, which have introduced a lot of novel products in pharmaceutical and biotechnology to meet the population's need. So he is one of the best person to talk about how to start and how to be in the entrepreneurial mindset and then taking the company forward. With a short introduction, I would leave the stage to Dr. Kumraj, sir.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you. So I would like to just show a couple of slides to the audience, which is more of some tips and some theory part of it. But at the end of the day, I would like the audience to be more interactive and more one-on-one discussion is what I would prefer.
Yes, sir, please. So audience, please save your questions. There will be a big interaction after this. So please save your question, then we can take it up later. Please, sir, go ahead.
Right. So just adding to what you have introduced me to the audience, I would like to tell them that I have co-founded the company called BioBridge Healthcare Solutions in 2011. Right now, we have our offices in Pune, in Chandigarh, and Mumbai. We are specializing in the pharma and biopharma industry, and as you mentioned, typically vaccines and biopharmaceuticals. We do end-to-end solutions. For example, we do plant design, we do technology transfer for several products. We have patent applications on many molecules. We also do process and product development, especially vaccines, both human and veterinary or animal vaccines. We have now entered into turnkey project execution. That means we take up a complete project right from the beginning, the design stage, and then we install, commission, and hand it over to the client. When we started our company, now comes the entrepreneurial part of it. So when I started this company, I was focused in India since I have been part of this industry for several years. So when we focused in India, at that time, in 2011, we had a lot of problem convincing clients to come on board. They were looking at us more as competitors, one, and they were not very convinced that we could give some value add to their business. So unfortunately, as I would like to tell all of you, that we could not do much very well in India. Then I started to focus outside India, where people respected your opinion. People respected that, yes, Indians can do very well in the pharma and biopharma industry. Then we started our first project in Bangladesh. And then we went to China, then Iran, then Turkey. We are currently associated with a company in Switzerland for project design. We have done a couple of projects in Indonesia, Russia, etc. So as you see that we have a varied geographical presence ranging from Asia. We also have a couple of projects in Nigeria, so Asia, Africa, and also the Middle East. I would just quickly run through a couple of slides, basically on the topic what we have chosen. But before we do that, I would like to just go back and do some introspection in the sense like what exactly constitutes entrepreneurship. Well, entrepreneurship is, of course, it's a function. It's a coalition of several factors which have come together, and then when you offer a service, when you offer a product, or when you offer something to the customer, and that the whole function of it becomes entrepreneurship. That means an entrepreneur gives something to the society or to the industry, and that is a function. One of the critical ingredients of this entire, entrepreneurship is innovation. If you are not innovative, your product becomes a me too, and then nobody would like to see it. Or even if they see it, then price becomes a factor that they will not be able to differentiate between your service or your product and others. So that is one of the critical ingredients, is the innovation. The second critical ingredient, of course, is persistence. Being an entrepreneur, if you don't have the habit of persistence, or you don't have the tenacity to stay, to sustain, to fight, it is impossible to remain or be an entrepreneur. So that is one of the important characteristics of both and being an entrepreneur or any kind of business: innovation and persistence. So there are many examples. If you look into look around, even in India or globally, where people have found solutions to the problems and offered them to the customer, and they have become successful. Also, there are many people who try to do the same thing, but they have failed. So it's a very dicey situation where you cannot guarantee success. Yes, but if you are able to sustain, if you are able to persevere, and if you are innovative, definitely success rates are much higher. So if you do a matrix of what exactly being an entrepreneur or the style of being an entrepreneur is, if you look at the matrix here, you have the financial risk, which is from low to high, and then you have the profit motive, which is again from low to high. If your financial risk taking ability and the profit making is low, then obviously you will not have, you will be avoiding risk, you will be trying to do things in a very small scale. And then if your financial risk is high, taking ability is high, but your profit motive is low, then you do take risks, but again, you are focused on the activity part of it, just doing. On the other hand, if you are having a very high profit motive, but a very low financial risk, then you are trying to again avoid the risk, but then again, profit seeking is not so easy. The best case scenario is where your financial risk is high and also profit motive is high. Then you are trying to accept all the risks and also consequently have better profit possibilities. Everybody thinks that, of course, I would like to go on the positive side of it. Everybody believes that, there are several rewards of being an entrepreneur. You're your own boss, you can do anything you want. You can be creative, you can break things, you can do which nobody has thought of before. Well, these do come under the category of, being reward, to be rewarded for your entrepreneurial mindset. Then they also believe that you have the freedom to set your own schedule, your job security, for example. You create your own destiny, and then of course money, which means everybody would like to become millionaires. Of course, being an entrepreneur and being a successful entrepreneur means that you are being recognized within the community. You create value for the society. You create value for the civil part. Well, of course, all said and done, it looks very nice. It looks very rosy that you are being entrepreneur. You will get those rewards, but, and there's always a big but here. So the risks run much, much higher than the rewards. There's tremendous competition as on date. You have to work long hours, which you cannot even imagine. There's no certainty of income, where income can come all of a sudden one day, and then for several days there's nothing. And then everything and anything, you are fully responsible. Mostly you will be responsible for the failures. The success, everybody would say, oh, it was a team effort and it was the industry which gave them the rewards. But when there is a failure, it is only you who will be fully responsible. Then, of course, risking one's investment. That's where you have to be careful, and you'll have to think about what is your risk appetite and how much are you willing to risk when you would like to become an entrepreneur. I would like to share my experience on this front. When I started our company, Biotechnology Healthcare Solutions, it was focused more on the bridging the gap between the industry and the academia. When I was personally very interested in teaching, and I would like to share my knowledge with students and typically the higher standards. And then I realized, look, this is a good business opportunity. I would like to create an online platform where students who are just passing out or who have already passed out and just beginning their careers, we would like to offer them some courses which bridge their understanding between what happens in the academia and how the industry performs. So we spent about 6 months writing all the course modules. We talked to different industry experts, interviewed them, short videos of their lectures, put all of it together using our own team, their background of industry experience, and uploaded them on the portal. We created a website where all these courses were available online. And then we started going around talking to different university vice chancellors, deans and training placement coordinators and everybody, and said, look, this is something which we have developed for the students who have already passed or who are just in their final year. And we would like to offer them these courses online with a very nominal payment. The response, the reply, what we got from the deans or the college professors, principals, they said, look, students pay their fees and they don't come to class. How do you expect them to pay something and then go online? Okay, that was in 2011, 2012. Maybe I thought that we are doing something wrong, or maybe we are doing something different, so nobody's appreciating that fact. Then honestly speaking, I left it after 6 months. I had invested a lot in it, and about 6 months we were paying salaries, we were paying the rent, office rent, and we had hired a lot of things. We invested in the software. But after 6 months, suddenly one day, I realized, look, this thing is not working. Maybe it's not the right thing to do. And I simply stopped everything and brought myself back to my core, whatever we were good at, that is the vaccine industry. Then we started our first project in Bangladesh, and that's where things moved on. And then we took up newer and newer projects. But that now is what I have been realizing. If I had maybe from 2012 now would have been the right time to launch those course modules where public is now, appreciating the fact that online courses do help. But anyway, that's a different story altogether. So coming back to the simple question, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Now, when we talk of this as a mindset, this can be inborn or you can make it off on your own. Inborn means you have the environment where your family or your immediate people around you, they are focused on being entrepreneurs or doing a business of their own. Or alternatively, you then, when you start slowly realizing the benefits or whatever risk analysis what you do, then you think of becoming an entrepreneur. So there are both categories you will find in the society where people are born entrepreneurs. They know that they have to do this and that's their calling. Or people learn on the job and they make sure that this is what they want to do in the future. So there are some typical characteristics. I don't think these are very evident. Somebody has to be very persistent. They have to be creative. They have to be responsible. You cannot be responsible with your finances. You cannot be irresponsible with some kind of policies or legal implications of what kind of business you're. You have to be responsible to the society and also to the people around you. You have to be inquisitive, of course, goal-oriented, self-demanding, self-confident. Risk is one of the important parameters. If you don't take a risk, there's no reward. And you can't just simply rest on what we are doing or restless. You have to be restless. If one achievement is already in the bag, you have to look for other goals. And of course, being independent is very important. And then you cannot lose or you cannot be pessimistic. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be, exuding energy, enthusiasm all the time. Being an entrepreneur means that you're trying to find a solution to a problem. You have many problems in the world, right from healthcare to daily life to daily routines. And when you find a solution for that, that could be the beginning of you being an entrepreneur. Or the other way around, you have a solution in hand and you look around for what kind of problems it can solve. I can give an example. For example, you had this carbon dating. People knew if you date the remaining residual carbon in any organic substance, you can find the age of it and how old is the substance. But this was the solution. Then the people tried to find the problem, what kind of problems it could solve. Will it be helpful in archaeology? Will it be helpful in criminals? Will it be helpful in some others? So then all the solutions came forward. So the solution was there, then all the problems came forward. So using that simple solution in hand, they found out different problems which it could resolve. There are some skills which are inherent or which should be where there is no brainer, where you need to have these skills, and unless you have these skills, it's practically impossible to be successful. You need to have good communication skills. There is a debate whether being good communication, does it bring business? Yes, it should or it will. Mathematical skills, of course, because it will know a lot of numbers. Problem-solving skills, nowadays technical and computer skills is a must. Decision-making skills, of course, without knowing how to make the right decision, you cannot survive, neither you can progress. Organizing and planning skills, teamwork skills, social skills. Nowadays, it's one of the most important factors. Adapting to different situations, and of course, basic business. If you don't have those business skills, you can hire people with those skills and then build a team. once we decide that I have to be on my own and once I have to be an entrepreneur or do my own business, it's not necessary that you should have all the qualities of what I just listed. It is possible that all the people will not have all the skills. Some will be skilled in some categories, but it's always good to be skilled at something. And then wherever you are deficient, you build a team, you bring in partners, you bring in experts who can fill that skill. So it's not necessary that you have all of them and then be the Ratan Tata of this generation. It's not possible. And then how to build a potential as an entrepreneur. So there is a step-by-step procedure to that. You have to determine your strengths. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And wherever you see there's a chance to improve, you need to work on it and then diligent on it and then improve those skills or traits. And wherever you are lacking, you bring in the team and then make a team which can address all the problems. Another thing which is important, and while you want to build yourself into a potential entrepreneur, is you have to think, act, and believe like an achiever. If you don't think that, if you don't believe that, if you don't live that as a dream, it's next to impossible to be successful. You have to be motivated by an inner sense, by an inside feeling of, I have to do this. And unless you do that, you will not be satisfied. And for that, you need to be practical also. You cannot be very, dreamy and, I'll be the next Jeff Bezos, I'll be the next thing about it. You have to start small. You have to begin step by step and then do the best in whatever you can. You are qualified to do, and then step by step, go forward. So for that, you need to do a lot of reading. For that, you need to write down what you are planning to do, a business plan, your whatever step-by-step processes you want to do. Start observing around, start what successful people are doing, start observe how people fail, observe how people do their best but still they are not successful, and then start solving the problems what you feel could be a potential business. So there's always the learning curve in this thing, whether being an entrepreneur or being a scientist or being any professional. You need to learn the techniques to use the skill. For example, if you want to set up a software business, you need to learn the skills. You need to know coding. You need to learn the software. Unless you learn the technique, you will not be able to proceed further. And then use those skills in the real world or simulated situations. That could be the real test. Like what we did when we were online coaching, we selected a college, university, and we gave out these courses for free, the login, passwords, and access to all these courses. And we asked them, the students, to give us their feedback and see what they liked or what they did not like about it. And we got an honest feedback. Of course, I'm talking about 10 years ago. We had a real good insight to students' mindset at that point of time. And it was a simulated situation. But unfortunately, we stopped that business. So right now, I don't know what would be the new set of mindset for the students who will be passing out in this online environment currently, which is global. Anything which you believe is good as a result always needs to be challenged and always needs to be improved upon. If you think that the customer or your user is satisfied, there always is a scope for improvement. That is not the end or the end of all. So now coming back to what I have learned in my past experiences and also doing business for the last 10 years, These are some real life practical tips what I can offer you right off the bat. We need to create a product or a service or an offering which you would like to do, which is at least or better than 10 times than the existing to survive. If you want to be a me too, in a sense, you would like to just set up a grocery store next to your another grocery store, you're just doing exactly the same thing as what your competition is doing. But if you want to be successful, if you want to be remembered, you have to be at least 10 times better than what the nearest competition is doing. You can see real life world examples when I say this, and you can easily map the metrics that someone who's successful is always much, much better than what others are doing. If you want to shop on Amazon, for example, and again, shopping on maybe some other e-commerce site, you can see the difference between them and others. And they are much, much better than what they're doing in terms of deliveries, in terms of refunds, in terms of the scope, the sheer variety of services and products offered on their website. And that's the reason why they're so good. And that's the reason why they're so successful. When you start doing a business or anything as a venture, each and every small detail is important. Each and every small detail of the daily routine is very, very important, and you should know it as if your life depends on it. Where is the details in all your business? Urgency, if there is a complaint, the speed with which you can address. If there is a problem, the speed with which you address it, it should be daily part of your routine. Urgency cannot come as an afterthought. Oh, okay, today is something urgent. Let me see. No, it should be part of the daily routine. The moment there is some issue, it has to be resolved on immediate basis. We cannot be very complex in our business dealings and then expect people to understand or people to reward you for that. You have to make it simple. You have to make it simple. One of the best examples in this is the Google homepage, where there's nothing. You only have one bar where you can type whatever you want, but that's where the fun begins. That's where the fun starts. So make it as simple as possible. Make even a dummy to understand what your business model is and what you're going to offer to them. Then comes the team. If you don't have a good team, forget about success. Absolutely. Having a good team on board, having more intelligent people than you on board is one of the critical success mantras. People respect when you have a team on board. People see you as a team player. If you are a single person, they don't trust you that much. They believe, okay, tomorrow this guy is not here, then what happens to this? So that is very, very important to be successful. Having a good, intelligent, more resourceful, more qualified people than you on board. Then comes the part where there is always a situation where you have a doubt that whether this will work, whether there is something which can be done better. Always choose the unknown and always choose something which has not been tried before to differentiate yourself from what you're doing. Another thing which is where people who are just about to begin, they try to look for validation from conventional sources, your friends, your family, whoever is close to you. But then they will also give you the same feedback as what you will be expecting. They will not be critical as what they should be. It's rather better to look for validation from some unconventional people and then try to figure out what to do next. Like there is an example here. There was a lady called Mary Anderson who invented the windshield wiper, the one which are in the car, where you clean the water, which is rainwater, which is falling on your windshield in cars. So when she invented that, she was thinking that, this is the best possible solution for any car driver. And but when she went into the industry or went into the car makers and offered them that, they were very skeptical. They said, no, 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 it's not going to work. And no drivers will like something moving in front of their eyes, while they're driving. And she was not very, successful in the beginning. But people rather preferred that they get down from the car, stand by the road, clean their windshield, and then go further rather than installing the windshield. But then later, as it caught up, then they realized, this is the best possible solution. And then it took off from there. And now, of course, you know that every car has a windshield wiper. So that's how it works. So you have to be persistent. You have to stay put and then work out what is going to help. The first leap is always the hardest. The first venture is always the hardest. It can teach you, it can mold you, it can bring you back to your senses. It can be the best part what you can learn. So that is the first leap is always the hardest leap. And then risk appetite is one which is very, very important. For example, if you believe that your cost of living, your daily expenses are, let's say, X, so anybody should have a margin of about maybe 2 years or 3 years, where even if you don't get any business, if you don't get any profit, if you don't earn any revenue, you would still be able to survive without any major issues, whether you are alone or you are with family or with your whatever. So that is the quantification which we need, every one of us has to do when they enter this kind of domain. So that was my practical tips and also partly of what I have been doing and my experiences, but I would rather have more interaction with you and try to understand what you feel and whether I will be able to answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for this wonderful lecture. Since we have almost 15 minutes time, so then we can you can post your question, so we will read it out, and then or like we can, if anybody is want to talk, you can raise your hand, then we will allow that person to talk. Is it okay with you, sir?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
The pay is 200,000 a month or not?
Sheetal, anybody there? Sir, there is a question called question by Asim. It's on, could you tell what you mean by profit-seeking behavior and can it be developed?
Well, if you are entering, let's say you graduate from school and you graduate from college, or you want to enter into make a career, what is your objective? First of all, you have to make a career, establish your name, and then also earn a decent amount of salary, which will help you and your family and everybody to sustain, and then grow and acquire what you want in your life. Now, there is, of course, a hidden motive of making profit. You would seek increment every year. You would seek benefits, increasing benefits every year. So that's an inherent profit motive. Similarly in business, if you seek growth every year, you like to earn revenue every year. So that is what is the profit-making motive. Unless you are motivated by making profits, your business will not grow or will not sustain
Recording stopped.
The way you wanted it to be. That's what exactly I meant by profit-making motive.
Recording in progress.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Please go ahead.
It was very nice session.
Hey,
Sorry.
no. Dr. Ahmed, just hold on. Renal, just give a small, just tell me your name and where you are from, and then put your question for the speaker. After Renal, I will go for Anuj. Please go ahead.
Yeah, myself, Renal. It was a great session. I am from India and currently in Sweden. So I used to work in from my beginning of the career, I work in the startup and overall environment. Whatever the speech, it's awesome. I have one question for the speaker. Like they always like when it comes to the startups, definitely there is a risk involved in the anything in terms of a finance, in terms of a technology, in terms of an anything. So I have one question, like how we can quantify the risks each, like so that we can know like we are taking this much amount of the risks and we are not taking this much amount of the risks. So is there anything specific, means can we quantify the risks based upon some percentage?
Okay. Risk mitigation, risk management has now become a science which is applicable in all industries, right from the nuclear industry to health industry to automobile industry, where risk quantification tools are being developed. Scientific methods are available for deriving the risk. And also there is another part where, for example, if you want to take a life insurance policy, the insuring company is taking a risk, is technically, on how much you are eligible for when something happens. So what they do, they will do your health checkup, they will, do your life mapping, they will do a lot of things, and then they will insure you. Similarly, for a car, if you want to take an insurance for your car, they have a method to do that. So if you look at any kind of business, there are matrices, there are metrics, for example, which give you a fair amount of idea that how much is the risk based on competition, based on pricing model, based on your innovative approach, whatever. But then at the end of the day, there is a human element to risk taking. You know the risk, for example. Everybody knows that, jumping from some place is always a risk. But then as a human being, will you be able to take that plunge? People who were trying to develop, aeroplanes in the beginning, they were how much risk they were taking. And people had risk, breaking their legs and everything. Still they took the, knowing the fact that they may or may not be able to fly. So that's nowadays it's become quite advanced that you can quantify risk and then create a model where is it possible for you to take that kind of risk or not.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question was, please, if you raise your hand, then I will go by name. Otherwise, Anuj, are you there? Okay. Anuj is.
Yeah. Am I audible, sir?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for your talk. And I am from the Jammu and Kashmir, and I have a small question that, sir, how to overcome this initial dilemma of doing business with respect to this financial crisis and the success of the business or something like the startups? Because while going for the idea of startups and entrepreneurship, there is always a first thought in our mind about the how we are going to succeed and what if there is no success or something like that. So how to do the initial steps so that we can overcome that dilemma or confusions whether we are going to do or not, because there is a whole lot of money or something like finances are maybe involved. So how to overcome that?
Sir,
Dr. Ganesh, you may need to unmute.
No, it was muted. I don't know, not by me.
okay.
Okay. So if I repeat the question, I would like to understand that.
Yes. Somebody has
Yeah.
asked me to unmute.
The question which was asked to me a little bit earlier was how to take the first step for starting the business. Is that correct?
Anuj?
Yes, sir. The first step, because there is always a dilemma about the success of your startups, entrepreneurship, or because there is a whole lot of involvement of these finances. So, how to overcome that?
So that
whether we are going to succeed or not?
exactly. So first of all, you have to map the entire process. As we just discussed, you need to first quantify your risk, whether you would like to take a risk of, let's say, 10 lakh rupees, 1 crore, 5 crores. If you have a good business background, if your parents are willing to support, will they be able to, okay, you have lost 1 crore, we don't care. So please start the new one. So that is the first step. You have to quantify your risk appetite. How much are you willing to risk? Second, you have to quantify how much time and effort you are going to put into it. It cannot be a side business. It cannot be something which you do it, let me, as a hobby. It's people think that it's like a hobby. No, it's not. It's a full time, 100% time of your life that you have to devote if you want to become successful and if you want to make it a success. So that is what is going to differentiate between you and others. If you do it as a half-hearted approach, then it's not possible. Then it's rather better to stick to something, traditional way of earning money by doing a job or something. But then it's not easy. You have to quantify how much risk are you willing to take.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in the chat box, there is one question. Sir, in one of your slides, you mentioned when in doubt, choose the unknown instead of known. Can you please clarify that more?
Yeah, so I can give an example on that. Supposing you are, having let's say, a problem in front of you, and you see that people have solved it in different ways, and the information is already in front of you. But then there are also other solutions which are not conventional. You have to think differently, and then take it as that route, because you see that whichever has been tried earlier has its own plus and minus. But something which has never been tried before should be your, there's a bigger risk, of course, there, but yes, that is the best choice to follow if you have not done it earlier. But doing the same thing and expecting different result is not going to solve. That that we call it as something like, what Jeff Bezos also says, it's learned helplessness. When we do the same thing every day, you will not see the problem, or you'll not realize there is something which I need to do differently. But then if you want to do it differently, you have to be restless. You have to think differently and then act on it. Because if you offer the same solution, then it's doing the same thing again and again.
Thank you, sir. Most of the other questions are kind of general questions, like, as a student, we know much about the subject, but we don't know anything about finance and legal things. So is it important to learn all those things, or we can just hire a team of expert in finance and legal matters?
No, there are certain fields which you need to know something about, like finance. You have to know some basic details. You simply cannot trust others to take care of your finance and then believe that everything is hunky-dory. No, you have to know some basics. That is first.
Recording in progress. Recording
if I
in
understand
progress.
correctly, a backup plan is not an alternative. For example, I want to develop a software for, let's say, children from 5 to 8, for example. I'm just giving an example. Now, that is your thought of business model, and I'm going to develop a software for that. Then, on the other hand, you say, oh, I would like to set up an online, shopping commerce site. So that becomes a different business plan. It's not a backup plan. So you are talking of that approach, or you're talking of something like a backup. Oh, if I am not successful here, I already have a job, or I have this in hand.
Yeah. Sir, I am talking about that because
if you are having a job in hand, then definitely it's a diversion. That risk-taking ability will go down. If something happens, what will happen? Then your mind is conditioning yourself. Oh, I have a job. Oh, forget it then. Even if it fails, I'm going back. But on the other hand, if you have no option, then you would rather stick around. You would rather work out of the box solution. You would rather work out some, something which will have a different approach. But the moment you are having a backup means what? That you are ready to, be your zone once again. Now that is definitely a issue, that because you will not have the risk-taking capability at that time.
okay. Sir, as in the bioindustry, we have just like that. If we are going for this, some sort of 6 to 7 products or something like that, and rather we are going for this fertilizer and we are not going to succeed, then we have to shift to other. That sort of backup plan is good to have, or
Yeah. Flexibility, adaptiveness, immediately taking a decision is very important. I can tell you a practical example. 6 months we persisted with all our efforts, 100% of our time, to develop these online modules. And on one fine day, we realized this is not working. The next day, we stopped it. So it was immediate decision not to go forward. And then, as you said, backup. There was no backup. We had to focus back to what we were good at, and that's where things started moving.
Okay, Renal has a question. I think we can have that as a last question.
This is the last question, and Renal, please, very short.
Hi, I have the questions. Can you able to hear me?
Yes.
I can't able to hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, now I can hear you. So my question is, like, when we are when we are deciding to have the entrepreneurship, like when we are having our model, whether it's a service model or whether it's a product model or anything, our business model. So when we are thinking like what we can bring out of that, so like out of box thinking we can offer to the society. So that ideas, how we can look for that ideas in the general routine, or like when that ideas come into the mind. So that's what my question is. So that we can think like this model or this service we can offer to the people or the society.
There is an example. There was an executive assistant to a chairperson or a big manager in old times, like we are talking of early 90s, 1990s, 50s, where they used to have these ribbon typewriters, if you know them. After the ribbon typewriters, there came film typewriters where there was a film. The text used to be transferred to the paper, and people. There was one executive assistant who had, for example, if there's a mistake in typing, there was no solution. She had to go back and type all the thing again. So based on that problem, she started thinking what can be done in this. So she invented something called a liquid paper. And then, what is liquid paper but nothing but this white ink, what you call, where you put white ink on the typed letter and that disappears, and then you can type on it again. Have you seen that? Anybody has seen this earlier? I don't think so, but anyway, that was the prehistoric areas. So that was a solution what she found to the problem. So you have to look for problems in your day-to-day life, in people's life, in everywhere, and then try to find a solution for that. So that is the beginning. That is where your ideas will come from. For example, Uber, again, it's a very good example. Somebody is waiting on a road and trying to figure out where can I get a taxi. Then suddenly he had an idea. I can call a taxi anywhere I want. So that's where the problem and the solution were coupled together. So you have to solve the problem to find a solution, and that is your business model.
You got it. Look for the problems. Thanks for the answering this question. And your example was super awesome. That ink.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kumraj sir, thank you so much for a wonderful and very interactive session.
Thank you.
Sharing your lot of insights from books and your personal experience. It will be very helpful for all our participants. Participants, I have put the link of Dr. Kumraj company. It's biobridge.in in the chat session. Please, you can bookmark that link. You can see check the products and research activities in this company. And thank you so much. And we will close the session for the day. And tomorrow we have two sessions. One as usual at 10:30 and another one session at 12 o'clock. So we will sign off now and we will join back at tomorrow 10:30 a.m. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Best of luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh, on personal